Welcome to the Outhouse Lounge. This is where we relax and talk about things, dung, whatever you will. It's not often that I get to have a real-life superhero on this program, and I have one now. Not only that, he's a minister and a former professional wrestler. That seems to put everything together. Now we know why he was a superhero, and the guy even had to mask his identity. So that's going to be a lot of fun. This is why I invited the man on. By the way, there's not only a book about his exploits, that's this one, The Masked Saint. There is a movie, and we're going to talk about that with the real Masked Saint himself, Dr. Chris Whaley. Welcome to the Outhouse Lounge, Doctor. Or
Hey,
Reverend Doctor, or something like that, right?
you can call me anything you want, but thank you so much for having me, Chris. This is it's quite a treat and an honor, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I can call you Ray or Jay or Ray J.
But you
No.
doesn't have to call me Johnson.
It's when I had the chance to get a real, as I said, a real superhero with a very cool name, by the way, The Masked Saint. I had to show this book one more time. It's the cover's awesome. I like the outfit, and it just throws a lot of things together. But you kind of like, it's almost like everything you've done throughout your life and in your career led to becoming a real life superhero. So we're going to talk about all of that. I want to go all the way when you were in school. Did you now keep in mind this is before you wanted to become a professional wrestler, but was there anything when you were a youngster, any influence when you were a youngster to want to A, become a professional wrestler, and B, possibly later join the ministry?
Well, when I was a kid, I was bullied a lot. Mainly because I was a sickly kid. I was just in and out of the hospital constantly. In the fourth grade, I had polio, viral encephalitis. I was in the hospital for 3 months and had to learn how to walk all over again. And so I got walked all over by the bullies. And so as a young kid, I dreamed of being able to not only protect myself, but to protect others so that they wouldn't have to go through that stuff that I went through. So, I had that on my mind. The ministry part came much later, but the vigilante part of wanting to do something, that came very early in my life.
Polio. You had polio. How did you overcome that?
It was an amazing thing, because I had, that was when they had the polio shots that all the kids would take. I don't know if they take them today or not, but I think they take something orally now. But in those days, you got a shot, and I took it, and obviously it didn't work on me. And lo and behold, one day at school, I was just really feeling pretty bad and actually kind of crashed in the school. They took me to the emergency room and I ended up in the hospital and of course was diagnosed with polio and viral encephalitis at the same time. And my legs actually turned inward. So I had to learn how to walk all over again. And it was really a miraculous story, but I had an awesome doctor who was able to help me. And matter of fact, he was the guy that encouraged me to never give up and to go to the gym, to work out. And I owe him a lot from my childhood because he obviously helped me and saved me.
Apparently, the workouts kind of went a little far as you were big enough to become a professional wrestler.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved going to the gym. I loved working out. Once they found out, why my immune system wasn't working, and I got on those medications, and then suddenly, boom, my body started changing, and I couldn't wait to go to the gym. I loved it. I loved every minute. I still enjoy going to the gym. So it was a great experience, and it was awesome seeing your body change, and you've been like a little wimp for so long, and then boom, all of a sudden things change.
Did you drink a lot of milk? I'm curious about that because I remember those commercials. Remember the commercials from the 80s, I think it was, where the kid's being bullied and the kid says, you know what? Do what you want to do, but I'm drinking milk. That means in about 4 years, I'm going to be much bigger than you. And then he grows up to this huge, gigantic, hulking man. Because I drink the milk, I'm going to come pound your head in. Now, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but the kid winds up walking away because he's afraid like 20 years from now, kid's going to come back and beat him down. So,
I still do not like milk. I was you remember the Popeye the Sailor, right?
right. I
What did
remember that.
what did he eat?
Spinach.
Spinach. Man, that's what I ate because I saw Popeye and I wanted to be I wanted to have those arms like Popeye did. So I ate a lot of spinach. I still eat a lot of spinach.
Me too. When I was younger, I ate a lot of spinach too, and I kept looking at my arms to see if there was like going to be some kind of picture, like an anchor or some tank, would appear there, but it never happened. Maybe I just wasn't eating the right brand.
Yeah, it didn't work.
You got bigger, and you obviously were big enough to become a professional wrestler through your teens and your younger years.
Right.
What made you, though? What inspired you to become a wrestler or want to do something like that? Because it does take acting chops too.
When I was in the hospital, you get your days and your nights mixed up. And a lot of times I was late at night, I was wide awake, and you turn the TV on, and I guarantee you just about every night you could find professional wrestling on TV when I was a little kid. And so I just became enamored with professional wrestling as a little boy. And if I could get my dad to take me to a live event, that was like a home run. And so I loved professional wrestling, and I watched it from the time I was a kid until I was like 24 years old. My wife and I had graduated from college, and we came back to my hometown. And my wife was a high school math teacher, and she was grading papers one day, and I'm looking at the Tampa Tribune, and it said in big bold letters, "Wanted professional wrestlers." Man, I just jumped up out of my seat. I walked over to where my wife was and showed her the ad, and she was grading papers, and she just kind of rolled her eyes and went back to grading papers. But man, I packed a bag and I drove over to Tampa, and I walked in, and there was one of the baddest of the bad whenever I was a kid, the Great Malenko. And I just saw a list on the internet the other day of the list of wrestlers that the Great Malenko trained, and it was just amazing the number of wrestlers that this guy trained. And I was one of them, and I feel very honored to be a part of the Malenko alumni. But I was hooked on it from the moment that I walked in the door, and I just loved everything about it. He trained me for 6 months. I finally got into the ring, and the very first guy I wrestled was the grappler, and broke my nose in that match. And
That's gotta hurt.
yeah, just still, I couldn't get enough of it. Couldn't wait for the next match.
Yeah, I understand he became your trainer, like you said. What inspired the outfit here?
Say again?
What inspired the cool outfit, though?
What inspired me to
The cool outfit that we see here.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
Your attire, if you will. It's quite dapper.
attire, okay. Well, actually, when I first got into wrestling, I was wrestling under my own name, and I would choose a fictitious name sometimes whenever I would get in the ring. But I got called to a church. I was a youth minister in a church, and my wife was pregnant with our first child, and they weren't so crazy about the wrestling part, and they only paid me like $12,000 a year, and my wife could not teach, and in those days they didn't pay the teacher. So I was watching wrestling on Saturday, and one of my buddies was working with a mask, and then the light bulb went on, and I said, that's what I could do. I could get a different gimmick, and the church would never know. And so I got the white mask and the white trunks and the white tights and the white boots, and I started wrestling as the Saint. And so I'm wrestling at night, and nobody in the church was wiser to it. So that was the best of both worlds.
See, if God wanted them to know, he would have told them, and it would have been some kind of way your mask would have fallen off. I think he wanted you to wrestle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
What's wrong with that? If you're going to be a minister, he's going to want you to be set up at least a little bit so you can be comfortable doing so, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course the later events, and we'll find that out in as we talk about the Masked Saint a little bit more. Again,
Okay.
I'm going to hold that book up, the Masked Saint. We're going to find a little bit more about why and the whole kind of intersection between you being a professional wrestler and and a minister as we move forward. Because as I said, we mentioned at the beginning, you became a real life superhero. I thought it would be interesting though, being a minister, preaching the gospel on a Sunday, and then later on in the week, body slamming somebody to oblivion. That's kind of an interesting combo now, isn't it?
You know, uh, somebody asked me about being a professional wrestler and a minister, and I said that the wrestling actually helped me in the ministry because it gave me a lot of confidence. Because believe it or not, in the ministry, you always have people that try to intimidate you. They try to intimidate you with the sermons you preach. They
Or
try.
are you saying there are bully ministers out there? There are
No,
people that are actually out doing that sort of thing.
no, they're bullies inside the church
Oh yeah, all right, I
that
got you there.
try to bully the pastor. We pay your salary, that kind of thing. So they
Yeah,
think they can, intimidate you and bully you to get you to do what they want you to do.
if they only knew.
Yeah. Some of them did know after they were confronted with it. So anyway,
That's right. They're probably afraid after a while. They're probably afraid you're going to take a chair and then like use one of those breaking chair tricks on them or something like that.
yeah,
That'll be fun.
I thought it prepared me. It gave me a great confidence. Uh, I wasn't afraid of any of them. Because I just knew that what I was doing was the right thing, and so uh, I didn't care what they thought. So I just did it.
I'm here with the real Masked Saint. Here's a cover. Here's a better look at the cover of his book. I know I held it up for you for a little while ago, but and if you're listening to us, check it out. I'll have a link to it. I'll have a link to Dr. Whaley's website. But if you're watching us on YouTube or wherever else you get your video podcasts, you see it there. I like it. That's a little more refined costume, but we'll get into that at a different time. Um, where did this kind of where did these worlds collide though? I'm sure you hid it from the church for long enough, and I suppose that somebody might have found out along the line, or maybe there was some way you kind of had to make some appointments or turn it around. How did the two worlds collide? Or did that kind of happen in your personal life more than anything else?
Well, when I became a pastor, and it all started with a young mom. She would bring her kids to church, and then she was always the last one that came into the church, and she was the first one to leave. And one Sunday, she came in and she had sunglasses on, which was a little unusual.
Uh-huh.
And then on this particular day, she was not the first one to go out, because I always went to the front of the church and shook hands with people when they were leaving. But on this particular day, she was the last person to leave. And when she came up to me, she took my hand with both of hers, and she had her head down, and you could see tears coming down her eyes. And I just reached over and lifted the sunglasses up, and she had two black eyes. And
Oh no.
it just infuriated me. I mean, I have been married. I've been married to my wife for 48 years. I met her when I was 16 years old. She's the mother of my children. And we're not perfect. We've obviously had our difficulties over those times, but I've never hit her. And I just think any man that hits a woman is just a dirtbag, and it infuriated me. And so this is where it all started with. When I saw it, my blood just boiled, and I told her, I said, I said, "Did your husband do this?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm going to go visit him." And she was like, "Oh no, please don't. He'll hurt you." And I was like, I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think she
Yeah,
knew who you were.
yeah. So, I met this guy, and I just wanted to see. As a matter of fact, I said, "I want to see how good you are against somebody who can fight back." And it was a great encounter, because in the ministry, you really don't have an opportunity to get rid of your stress. But on this particular day, I got to get rid of a lot of stress, and it felt so awesome. And I just kind of danced with him in a parking lot for a while, and it was just an awesome experience. And that was the beginning of the Masked Saint, because after that, I just had incident after incident after incident after incident where I am handling things more as a pro wrestler than as a pastor. And so that's how it all got started.
You became sort of a Christian vigilante, if you will.
Yep. Yep. I was the equalizer before Denzel and Queen Latifah.
Well, there was another Equalizer before that. There was that TV show with the Equalizer. My grandma used to watch it all the time. I think she thought he was kind of hot, so she liked that and Crazy Like a Fox. Well, yeah, I'm dating myself here, but the fact is, I mean, the kids. I'm sure the kids watch something a little more different. Like I'm sure the kids watch shows like Mannix nowadays.
Yeah.
But that's a different story.
Yeah. No, they don't, man. I tell you, the cartoons today suck. I just can't watch them. And my grandkids were at my house on Saturday, and we have Me TV. I said, I'm going to show you what real cartoons look like. And I flipped it over to Me TV, and you got the Bugs Bunny,
the real stuff, yeah,
and all those Tom and Jerry, all those great cartoons, So they were kind of dumbfounded. They never seen those,
I guess they're not allowed to. It's the motherlode of good cartoons, and if it's slightly offensive or very offensive, then they're pretty good. Kids love the look. We were okay watching those when we were kids. What's wrong with the kids today watching them? I guess I don't know. Maybe not enough people make enough money out of them. That's my guess.
I guess so.
There we go. But
anyway,
maybe we should have the Masked Saint visit some of those TV executives. How about that?
I'm up for it if you are, Chris. You get me the address. I'm up for it.
Do I get to be your Robin?
Absolutely, man.
Oh wow! All right. What would my sidekick name be if you're going to be the Masked Saint?
The Masked Saint.
The Apostle.
Oh yeah, the Masked Saint and his apostle. There you go.
There we go. I like that.
And you came up with that, man. That's pretty cool. I like
know what? That's right. I think I'll take that. I will take that. The Masked Saint and the Apostle. I don't need a really cool uniform. I have a paper bag I could put over my head, but I think that idea was taken by the Unknown Comic. And if I put a cape on with the bag on my head, maybe that'll be perfect.
You're dating yourself again because most people don't know who the Unknown Comic is.
Again, that's right. We need real comedy. That's lost upon. But I'll get to that. These kids out there playing with their hoops and sticks and playing kick the can outside without paying attention to what's really going on. Yeah. Anyway,
didn't he date Linda Blair, the girl from The Exorcist?
I believe so, but I have to double check that. I don't remember. I think he did or something like that. I actually have a copy of his movie Night Patrol, one of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh my God. You have dated yourself.
Dr. Whaley, the Masked Saint, is with me right here on the Outhouse Lounge. When did you kind of become full-time vigilante after your wrestling career and of course the calling to the ministry? You put the worlds collided. You decided that it was a good thing to protect others in that way. How did this become sort of I wouldn't say full-time, but a more regular thing?
Yeah. Hey, from that moment on, that was early in my ministry at my first church. So it just didn't stop, I mean, it didn't happen every day. It didn't happen every week, but when I would encounter a situation where someone was being mistreated or bullied or whatever, that's whenever I started doing that. And there's a story in the book that was really, I guess, the most humorous of all of them. I was actually on my way to South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, for a conference, and my family was already there. I had a pastor friend and his family were going, and then me and my family were going, but I had to stay behind because of a funeral. And so I got a late start, and on the turnpike, they have these service plazas where you can go in and get food and gas and stuff like that.
I love those.
And so I stopped at the service plaza, and there were 3 thugs that almost knocked me over going in, which got me a little excited. But anyway, I calmed down. And then when I got inside, they were just being jerks. And, I'm standing in line and then they come and butt in line. I had all I could handle, and there's no mask on. And I just said, why don't you guys quit acting like jerks? And so they surrounded me. They didn't surround me. I had one on this side, and one in front of me. And it's like, did you see that the Sherlock Holmes movie with Downey, where he kind of goes through in his brain what he's going to do?
Yeah, great scene, great scene.
Yeah. So that's really what I did. I'm thinking, what I'm going to do, because there's no way to get out of this. And I'm saying, okay, all right, this guy is going to get an elbow. This guy is going to start talking at a much higher pitch. And this guy is going to start walking with a limp. And, you just go through it in your mind, and then boom, they get aggressive and you start. This guy is suddenly talking on a much higher pitch. This guy can't breathe through his nose because of an elbow. And this guy's got a foot to the knee, and he's walking with a limp. And, before you know it, I'm in handcuffs in the back, because the State Highway Patrol, they're the ones that do security for that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be on TV. My wife is not going to believe this.
The good thing is, though, you gave those hooligans the what for, though. They really needed that.
Yeah.
That's
But,
right.
the guy came in, the state trooper came in and asked me to stand, turned around, took the cuffs off and said, "You're free to go." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, the three guys are gone." He said, "I would suspect, one of them might have a warrant out for him or something." And he said, "The manager is not pressing charges, so you're free to go." And it's like, holy smokes, even when I do something stupid, it's amazing. God kind of looked out for me, and I didn't get put in jail for that.
Well, that'll show those rapscallions to try that again on somebody, right?
Yeah.
And next time they might wind up in the big house or something like that.
Yeah.
Or they might, or somebody else might give them the what for, the old 1-2,
Yep.
But anyway, having said that, I do have the real masked saint, a true Christian vigilante here with me, a superhero, a real superhero. I do have to tell you, though, as your psychic, the apostle, I have one inherent superpower.
What is that?
I can step on a line in any place, no matter how long it is and how fast it's going. And once I'm on it, I render it to a dead stop. It'll just stop no matter what happens. No matter how fast the line's going, my presence on that will stop that line.
That's amazing. Does anybody else know about this? I mean,
Anybody who's been in a store line or a bus line with me knows all about it, and they don't want me near them. That's my problem. Now I have to hide my identity too. The fact is, though, if you ever want to chase some of these hooligans, these whippersnappers who are running around trying to beat down people, they'll try to get away on a bus and stand in a line. When the bus starts moving, I could stand on it. And by the time you get ready and the line will stop, they'll never be able to get off it because the line stopped. They think it's going to go again. They don't want to lose their place. And you could just take them down while they're in that line. They can't even move into the bus. See, that's brilliant. Brilliant stuff.
Yep. The takedowns are easy. It's just the hard part's getting up.
So your story was made into a movie.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the movie.
Yeah. The book came out. When the book came out, I started getting offers from, you remember the very first 3 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies?
No, I do not. I never really got into the Turtles. I know they were named after artists. And that's a cool thing. And I'm a pizza guy.
Yeah.
I like rats. And wait a minute. I do know one thing. One of my favorite actors was in I don't know if he's one or most of the movies, but his name was, I like Francois Chow. I think he's a great actor. Yeah. I believe he was in one or at least some of the movies. That's all I know.
Well, they were all blockbusters. And the guy who was the executive producer was in Orlando. And so he called me in and actually kept me on the hook for about a year because he was very interested in making The Masked Saint into a movie. And then all of a sudden he said, "No, I'm through." But during that year, I also met a lot of other people in the movie business. And then I had this producer from Canada that flew down to Orlando and met me at Disney World. And I met with him, and ultimately, he's the guy that well, it went back and forth over a period of time. Matter of fact, I got really frustrated. And one morning, I'm on my way to the gym, and my phone rang, and I answered it, and it was him. And he said, "Has anybody done anything with your book yet?" And I just, he's not looking at me, so I roll my eyes, and I said, "No, they haven't." And he said, "Okay, I'll get back to you." And I said, "Okay, right, bye." I was like, "Good night." I'm sick of it. I'm almost ready to put the book up on the shelf. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going to the gym again, and this guy calls me. He said, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "Matter of fact, I am. I'm driving." He said, "You might want to pull over." And I pulled over, and he said, "We're going to make your book into a movie." And I was totally blown away. And I mean, it's got some great people in it. It's got Roddy Piper. You remember?
A wrestler, yeah, the great wrestler Roddy Piper.
Yeah,
I want to point something out, and I know you want to get to this. I wanted to ask this question, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Diane Carroll played Miss Edna,
right,
and she was very inspirational to you.
right.
But it's pretty.
Yeah, Diane Carroll, she was 79 when this movie was made. I think she passed away a couple of years ago. She was 79, and she was just drop dead gorgeous. I mean, so pretty. And she was one of the sweetest ladies. I mean, I'd see her on the set, and she'd give me a hug. And she was just an awesome, awesome lady. I mean, this lady was nominated for an Academy Award, and here she is playing the Miss Edna in my book, and it was overwhelming. But she was just a sweet, sweet, sweet lady, and I was very, 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 very overwhelmed to have that time with her.
It must have been. I usually when you think about somebody playing you in a movie,
Yeah.
you kind of hope it's somebody pretty cool and somebody who's won some awards. It has to be an honor for the family of Ms. Edna to see Diane Carroll play her. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. She was great. The only problem with the movie is the movie brought her up to real time. But she's from my childhood. You know, every chapter of my book, just about every chapter, has a lesson that I learned from her whenever I was growing up. And so I am very saddened that they didn't do it to, the way it happened in real life. But anyway, she did a super job for the way they changed the script and made her real time in my life instead of from my childhood.
That's obviously when they make a movie, they're going to obviously change some things. But it was kind of cool, like having it based on your life. What were some of the things you really liked about the movie? I know you got to be in it, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I had my one line at the
You were
at,
in it. You were
at
in
the,
it. Yeah, that's
yeah,
good.
at the end of the movie. But it was just, I had never ever been on the set of a movie, and so I was blown away. I had no idea that they'd take one scene and do that scene like 3 different times. I mean, they work a half a day just on one scene. It was just amazing. I'd never seen that. It was my first time in Canada, and it was butt cold. I mean, man, it was so cold in Canada. So some of the things from the book, they changed, that things that happen outside, they brought it inside and just did it from a different angle because it was just so cold in Canada at that time. But you get to meet some awesome people. I had actually wrestled Roddy Piper. I wrestled him like 25 years before this. Hadn't seen him all that time, and then all of a sudden I'm spending a month with Roddy Piper, which was very, very cool. Not only was
Did he remember you? Did he remember you?
oh yeah.
Cool.
Not only was he a great wrestler, he was a great actor. I mean, he was just super. Whatever he did a good job of it. So it was great spending time with him, getting to meet, all of those people. The guy that plays the Reaper, James Preston Rogers, Man, that guy has been in so many different movies. He even moved from Canada to LA. He lives in LA now, and he's just been in everything. The lady that plays my wife, she's been in so much. Matter of fact, the last thing that she was in was the Reacher series. You know, I don't know if you've seen that on Prime.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
You also had a professional hockey player in there, Scott Nickel, in the movie.
yeah,
Well, chances are, obviously, you're going to have a hockey player in some kind of movie that's shot in Canada, so that's just going to happen. Yeah, he
yeah.
played Tim McDonald.
I didn't even know he was a hockey player.
Yeah,
Did that?
I believe he played for the Predators among some other teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, see,
You find out these things. The little girl that plays our daughter, man, she has just knocked it out of the park. She was in a movie with Robert De Niro. She was in a movie with Martin Landau, Christopher Plummer. She's just really hit home runs every time she's been on film. And all those people have done well, all of them. And it's amazing that you see them on TV and say, hey, they were in my movie, man. That was pretty cool.
hmm. With me, of course, is Dr. Chris Whaley. Do you still don the old suit and go out doing some vigilante stuff nowadays?
You know, I those days are, you know, few and far between, mainly because now I'm 68 years old. However, I did get back in the ring last year at the age of 68. On November the 17th, I got back into the ring. But you know, I just don't. I don't. It's a lot different today because today you probably get shot. You know, in my day, you know, they didn't carry. Well, there were a few things with guns, but you know, today, if you did some of the things that I did back then, today I would probably get shot. So, but when I see somebody being mistreated, I don't care about those things. I just do it. You know. In my last church, I walked outside one day and somebody dropped the F bomb out in the parking lot. That'll get your attention, you know, if you're a pastor. And I looked across the parking lot, and here's this guy slapping it. I didn't know it at that time. His pregnant girlfriend.
Oh no!
And so you know, I raised my voice and said something to him, and then he shot some expletives back at me. And I just started towards him. I dropped my glasses. I took my tie off. I took my coat off, and I'm walking towards him. And it happened. I mean, in the church parking lot without a mask. He got aggressive towards me, and I ended up body slamming him on the concrete and putting my knee in his neck and telling him to get up and never ever do that to that young lady. You know, so you still have an incident every now and then, but nothing like it whenever I was younger. Nothing.
This conversation proves the clear lesson, or at least will teach the clear lesson that you shouldn't be screaming at or hitting anybody anywhere, especially in a church parking lot, because you never know if the minister or priest can put the smack down on you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know of any other ministers that have been professional wrestlers. I know some of those wrestlers are now, you know, speaking and doing ministry, but they weren't ministers when they were in wrestling. So I think I'll have that. My last tag team partner was a dentist, though.
Okay. It wouldn't be Dr. Tim Watley, would it be? Whaley and Watley. I'm kidding. That's
No,
the guy from Seinfeld. That's
his motto was, "I knock teeth out at night and I put them back in the daytime."
well, that's convenient. There we go. You can knock the soul out of somebody and save it the next day too. So it's a good team.
There you go, man. That's
All
all.
right. Well, on the next episode of the Masked Saint and the Apostle, we're going to try to we're going to infiltrate a drug cartel and stuff like that. There we go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chris Whaley. Once again, the book and the movie, The Masked Saint. Very cool. Cool uniform too.
Hey, Chris, if they order a book off my website and they mention the Outhouse Lounge, I will throw in an 8x10 autographed picture to them.
Well, that would be terrific because I really thank you for autographing the book that I have, which is really awesome as well. I really enjoy it. Now, the website, once again, is?
Website, www.themasked, that's MASKED, saint.com, themaskedsaint.com.
themaskedsaint.com. Easy to find. Mention the Outhouse Lounge. You'll get that 8x10. That's pretty cool. And thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Chris Whaley, Reverend Chris Whaley, professional wrestler Chris Whaley, and superhero Chris Whaley.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Man, it is an awesome privilege to be on your show. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I know that you're going to knock it out of the park with the Outhouse Lounge.
I hope we can do that. And I want to thank all of you who are listening and or watching today. I thank you for being part of us. If you're watching, please subscribe to us on YouTube or wherever you get the video. And if you're listening, please subscribe to our show wherever you're getting that podcast. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for joining us in the Outhouse Lounge.